My Lens Presentation by Michaela Shimko. In this presentation, I will be comparing the identities and experiences of myself and Mark. I will then compare the experiences of a typical hearing person to those of a typical deaf or hard of hearing person. Identity. I am a female, Mark is a male. I'm a hearing person, Mark is born a hearing person, became medically deaf, and later became culturally deaf. I'm a daughter, granddaughter, niece, cousin, friend, girlfriend, and sister. Mark is a son, grandson, nephew, cousin, friend, husband, and father. We are both teammates. I will graduate this May, and Mark has graduated. We are both educators. I tutor and will be an educator. Mark educates about his experiences through his book. Family dynamic. We both have two parents, though my parents had a larger role as my guardian. His grandparents took the lead in his medical and educational decisions. I had one sibling, an older sister. For better or for worse, this impacted my role in the family because there are expectations of how the youngest sibling will act. It has also helped me to have a role model close to my age. Mark was an only child, so this likely factored why he was less self-spoken and sure of himself. When I was younger, I was close to my father's side of the family because they lived closer. I'm close with both now because I can travel more easily on my own. When he was younger, Mark was close with his mother's side of the family because they took over as his guardians and were hearing, what they were kindly trying to make him. He is close to his deaf family members now because he has come to embrace his deafness. Language development. When it comes to a range of hearing, people use listening and speaking. Some use sign, ASL, PSE, SEE, etc., and others use both or one in support. I was born in a hearing family as hearing, so I used both spoken language, English. Mark was born to deaf parents and hearing grandparents. He used spoken language, though the pronunciations were a bit different because his parents, who were his role models as well, could not access the language as easily. Because of this, and him becoming deaf, he needed tools like hearing aids and speech therapy to access listening and speaking. I also went to speech therapy because I could not pronounce R's and S's correctly. He felt like he was incompetent in his sessions, but I never felt this way because my therapist was able to clearly explain why I was there and how they would help me. In our readings, we learned how important this is. As he embraced his deaf culture, he used ASL. We have also learned ASL in my high school and college years. This was for better access for himself. Mine was for better access to others. He noticed a significant difference when he was able to communicate directly, not through tools or an interpreter. I have been lucky to have direct communication my whole life. Cognitive development. This is the ideal classroom. The ideal classroom is shown in white. This is when a teacher uses the same mode of communication as their students. They also reach their needs by providing aids and services. When it comes to inclusion classrooms, sometimes students with disabilities are not entirely served. Some even fade into the background completely. In order for deaf or hard of hearing students to best develop cognitively, they need direct communication. Indirect communication, like through an interpreter, is not ideal, but it can be suitable. Mark and I both attended public school and were placed in an inclusion setting, though Mark was later in a private school. He also had an interpreter at one point. He did not like it at first, but later did because he had easier access to the content. It was better when he went to a school with those who signed. Mark was the first deaf person to graduate from his school, and I am the first generation that will graduate from college. I am studying deaf education, and he is studying psychology. We both went to a school or went to graduate school. Social development. I grew up in a mostly Hispanic neighborhood. He grew up around mostly African Americans. This helped our social development by helping us understand others and our own perspective and upbringing. This also helped us see how the differences were not all that different. We also learned how to get along and work with others when we were on a team. I played soccer and ran for cross country and swam competitively, and Mark played baseball. We both dated in college, which helped us realize what we wanted in our significant other and in turn ourselves. We both had experiences communicating with hearing and deaf people. For him, he is able to relate to both when I cannot exactly. For me, I can potentially access both languages better, though he is more fluent in ASL. We both communicate with both, but one is definitely easier for each of us. Here I have a chart that compares and contrasts the experiences of many hearing people, like myself, to that of deaf people or hard of hearing people, like Mark, that we have learned about in Dr. Sheets's and others' readings. See on screen. Mark says he was born into deaf culture, thrown into hearing world, and was rediscovering the joys of deafness. I believe many people can relate to this, though maybe in different ways. We have all been born into a family with certain expectations while trying to live up to the expectations of society, only to later try to find what we expect or want of ourselves. I think it's important to be influenced by others, but to remain true to your own wishes. Here are my references on screen. Thank you.